Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Kylie Kendall, and in today's video I'm going to be sharing our NICU story. So September is actually NICU Awareness Month, and let me just tell you, I decided to make this video in like June. I was so pumped. I actually even wrote my notes for this video in June, but I was like, no Kylie, wait, September is NICU Awareness Month. Like, that's so much better just to wait. So I waited, and guess what? Here I am, the very last day of September, and I'm filming this video. So that's just where I'm at. So let's just get right into it. A little bit of background. Our daughter Harper Riley was born on December 13th, 2019, and she was born at 37 weeks, 2 days. So I was induced at 37 weeks because I had high blood pressure like very last minute. And I was totally fine with that because I was under the impression that, oh, 37 weeks, they're developed. Like, she's no problem, like she's good. I had this misconception about the NICU, and I think a lot of other people do also, and that is that the NICU is for small babies, or the NICU is for very premature babies, or just premature babies. And I'm just here to tell you that is not the case. You truly never know. Your baby could be 40 weeks, could be 42 weeks, and still need to go to the NICU because of jaundice, or, you know, breathing issues or other things, blood sugar issues. So there are tons of reasons why your baby may need to be in the NICU, not just if your baby's small or premature. And that's something I truly did not know or understand before having a baby of my own and experiencing it firsthand. And now I know 37 weeks is still early. Obviously, it's not like full term, like 40 weeks, but I honestly was under the impression that like we were good, like no problem. So just a side note, so when we were looking at hospital, we went on the hospital tours, we were looking up information online, all that stuff, just doing all of our research, trying to decide which hospital would be best for us, because we had two that were pretty close, about like 25 to 30 minutes away, and then one that's about like 40 minutes away. So two of those hospitals that we looked at, they did not have a NICU. Now, I'm not saying they wouldn't be able to take care of like very basic things, like if your baby needed help with something, you know, but they didn't have an actual NICU. And for some reason, that gave me so much anxiety. And I never had like a fear of having my baby early, or there would be no reason before going through this whole experience for me to be worried about the NICU. Like, but I had this gut feeling that I needed to be in a hospital with a NICU. So we ended up deciding on the hospital that we chose just because they had a NICU, and because I liked it, and I loved the doctor's office, the practice that we were with, but the NICU was like the major deciding factor. And I feel like Ryan probably thought like, gosh, she's so paranoid or so like, whatever, we're gonna drive extra just for that or whatever. Well, thank goodness we did. I honestly cannot imagine going through the same experience with my baby in a different hospital. You know, it's hard enough having your baby in a different room, but you know, a different hospital, oh my gosh. And I know like they would have taken the best care of her, they would have got her wherever she needed to go, it would have probably been totally fine, but just for my mama heart and my brain and all that stuff, I needed to know that I would be able to be in the same building as her. So that's something that I think could actually be a very important deciding factor when you're looking into different hospitals. That's something I literally never would have thought of. I thought every hospital had a NICU. So two assumptions that were wrong that I had assumed. NICUs are for tiny babies or for premature babies. That's not true. I mean, it is true, but that's not the only reason that a baby can go to the NICU. And then also that all hospitals have NICUs. That is also false, not true. So now getting into our story. So I had Harper, it was amazing. I was holding her in my arms, and I remember looking at her and being like, oh, it's so funny. She has like all these bubbles like in her lips. Like it was like she was blowing little like spit bubbles. Super cute, but whatever. I didn't know. I'd never had a baby before. Like, how would I know? So we were just holding her. We were in labor and delivery for 2 hours, and then they moved us down to mother baby. So as they're literally wheeling me down and her down, I remember the nurse asking, which was a different nurse because we were being transferred, you know, she said, has she always been breathing that way? And I think like she was noticing her chest was kind of like going up and down really quickly, and then kind of slower, and then really quickly. I think that's, honestly, I have to be honest too, it's such a blur, like the details. I had to look up her like chart notes that I had from actually the hospital, like the discharge papers. I had to look up all this stuff because like I didn't even know how many days she was in there. Like that's how much of a blur and how like slightly traumatic it was for me. So anyways, the nurse is like, you know, her breathing looks a little bit funny. It's no big deal, mom. Don't get stressed. And I wasn't stressed. I thought she was totally fine. She's like, don't worry, Dad and I are just gonna walk her down to the NICU and have her looked at again, even though she's already looked at like 5 times, but which is fine. She's like, we'll be right back, you know, whatever. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm sitting in mother baby by myself, like just sitting there. I'm like, doo-doo-doo. It's like 30 minutes, 40 minutes. I'm like, Ryan hasn't like called me or texted me. Finally, my nurse comes in. She's like, all right. And I'm like, hey, do you know where my husband is and my baby? She's like, oh, I'll take you to them. They're in the NICU. I was like, okay, cool. So I get in my little wheelchair and she's wheeling me down. And I will literally never forget, I saw Ryan sitting in a chair, literally like all slouched over, just, it literally looked like he had seen a ghost. And I'm not exaggerating. He was pale. He looked like he'd been crying. I've literally never seen him like that. And so I get up to him, I'm like, Ryan, what's wrong? And then I look over and I saw Harper, and she was just like totally hooked up to a ton of machines, obviously eyes closed. Like, I actually have one picture of it, and I was thinking like, oh, I'll insert the picture. I can't insert the picture because although I guess it's good to have like as like a memory, or I mean, not really, but I'm glad I maybe have it, but I don't really like to look at it, so I don't know. I'm not gonna insert it here. But anyways, just hooked up to all these machines, and I just like my heart just sunk, like my stomach dropped. And I was like, what's going on? And he's like, he's holding like a wet rag and water. I'm like, are you okay? He's like, honestly, I don't know. You need to talk to the nurse. Like, he couldn't even speak. So I go over, the nurse, the doctor, they fill me in. They say, you know, we think we're gonna need to monitor her. You know, her breathing is a little bit like off. It's, you know, we think that she may have like respiratory distress syndrome, which is called RDS. So we're gonna have to keep her for a couple days. You're definitely not gonna have her back tonight, probably not tomorrow night either. Yada yada yada. And it kind of went to a blur. Then I kind of realized it was much more serious than what I had originally imagined. Like, I thought it was just no big deal. I thought they were just gonna go check her out, you know, and bring her back, or maybe something just for that day or that night. I did not expect what I walked into. And I talked to Ryan like a second later, and he had told me that what really like got him to the state that he was in was when he asked one of the doctors, is she gonna be okay? Because that's probably all he was thinking about. Like, is she gonna be fine? You know, the rest of the stuff is just whatever, but is she gonna be fine? And the doctor had said to him, I can't make any promises, or I can't make any guarantees or something. And although I do understand that, that's probably true. You can't obviously guarantee anything. You probably shouldn't say it like that, you know? I don't know. So it was like the happiest day of our lives to like the scariest day at the very same time. And I think Ryan had just gone through a lot of trauma, like watching me give birth, and there's just a lot going on. And to see his daughter in that way, and not my daughter, when I walked in there, I mean, I was the same way, but he was one who was spoken to in that way, and I wasn't. They're all very encouraging to me, but maybe a little bit different, or maybe he took it differently. I'm not sure. But anyways, so then I honestly started to get really scared. And I also want to throw in that I do understand that our situation is literally so small compared to other people's situations. And my heart goes out to you so much. I mean, I can't imagine how much tougher the situation could have been. And I know that it could have been so much tougher, such a, you know, much worse situation. And I just want to say that. And I want to recognize, like, let you know that I do recognize that, but this is just our story, and this is what happened for us, and this is how we felt. So it was very scary to us, but I do understand and know that situations obviously can be much worse. And I feel like I just have to say that. So the first night, obviously we had to leave Harper there, and she was on the bubble CPAP. She was in like a heating bed, obviously, which is good. Feels good for her. She was getting pricked every couple minutes, like not minutes, but every couple hours to check like blood sugar and different things like that. She was hooked up to tons of machines, like just monitoring her breathing, her heart rate, all of that. And so we had to leave her, and we had to go back to our room. And something that I want to just say is that, and once again, I do know that the situation is probably so small compared to other people's, but being a new mom, like just giving birth, and then going back into your room to mother baby, but not having your baby with you, that's really hard. And I remember like waking up in the middle of the night just to get up to go to the bathroom or something. I remember I woke up and I just like started crying so bad because I was just so sore. I was in so much pain and I was just sad, like so sad. Like I missed her in a way that I didn't know. I've never felt something like that before. Like if you think about it, I just had her with me for almost nine months or whatever. So it was almost like I felt like she was like part of me for all this time, and then where the heck was she? You know, she was like laying in a bed by herself. I mean, obviously there were nurses taking amazing, and doctors taking amazing care of her, such good care of her. But to me, it's like, I wanted to be the one who was with her 24/7. So that first night, like I will literally never forget it. There are a lot of tears, you know, just a lot of moping around, to be honest. Yeah, it was extremely, extremely hard. So then I do want to say there's something really nice about the hospital we were at. You were allowed to go to the NICU 24/7. So we were allowed to go in and out as many times as we wanted. They really encouraged me to come in for each feeding. They had her on a really good schedule. It was 8-11-2-5. I'll never forget it because they kept telling me 8-11-2-5. Like, don't forget, those are times you need to be here for sure. And we literally sat in there the whole day. Like we maybe left to get like food or something, but we were there the whole day. So it's not like we were ever going to miss like a feed. But yeah, so it was 8-11-2-5. It was open 24 hours, which was amazing. And they also really encouraged me to come in for the rounds every day where the doctors like met up and talked about their cases, which was really cool because we got to hear like firsthand what they were actually saying about her case. So yeah. So anyways, then I remember coming in the next morning and I walked in and she had a pacifier in her mouth. And I remember thinking, like, before this, I was like, oh, I had read a million, all over the place, like, don't give your baby a pacifier first because they need to learn how to breastfeed. And I hadn't really been able to breastfeed because I wasn't really with her that much. Like, she had to be hooked up, so they couldn't, like, hand her to me. So they had been, I was pumping, like, literally not even an ounce. It was depressing. That was something else that was so depressing. Being back where I'm just, like, pumping and literally nothing coming out. My baby's not there. How am I going to feed him? I was just like, ugh, bad situation. So anyways, I'm pumping. And I'd literally go down there with like a little syringe of like an ounce. I'd be like, woohoo! They'd put it in a little bottle and they'd feed her. But I do remember coming in that first morning and being like, you gave her a pacifier? Didn't even ask me. You know, I was like, I got kind of like irritated or just like defensive maybe. Because I was like, whoa, I did not choose that. And then also like her having to be bottle fed a little bit here and there. I was kind of like stressed about that because I was like, oh my gosh, is she not gonna be able to latch? Is she gonna have nipple confusion? Like all these things. I do feel like some of my like initial choices were sort of taken away because she had to be somewhere without me. So I'm gonna say it was no big deal. She never had nipple confusion. She likes pacifiers still, but it's no big deal. And I'm thankful for that because it's very good for self-soothing or helping to soothe her. And it was no big deal, but I think it was like the initial hormones, just me being so upset and like sensitive. I was like, who gave that to my baby? You know? But I mean, I know that they were just trying to comfort her and take care of her. And obviously they know better than me because they are doctors and nurses and they deal with little babies every single day. So, something else that's very interesting when your baby is in the NICU, when you're trying to breastfeed, I felt like it was just a lot. Like, so I'd be in there and I'd be like trying to learn this new thing. I had people like hovering over me all the time and like my baby's hooked up to all these wires. So it was like very just not a comfortable situation. I just felt like kind of overwhelmed all the time. It was just like loud beeping. Like it wasn't like this peaceful, blissful moment that you kind of imagine, like you and your baby like feeding your baby for the first time. Well, I mean, you know, not literally the first time I got to feed her like before, but you know, it wasn't that same experience I think I may have had if I were in mother baby. But I mean, obviously they were always trying to help me and they did help me, but it just didn't feel as relaxed. Like I wasn't in like my bed. I was just like this chair and you know, they put pillows, they tried to make it more comfortable, but I don't know. It just wasn't that way. So breastfeeding I felt like was kind of tough. There was just too much going on around me. And so I actually had to look up, like I said earlier, how long she was actually in there, because to me it felt like a whole week. So we were there, let's see, she was born on the 13th and then she was discharged on the 16th. So really that was, let's see, that was only 3 nights, like 4-ish days, but it felt like an eternity. And the reason for that was also because on the 15th, I actually was discharged. So I had to go home. We had considered staying in a hotel right outside of there, but in the end we were just like, let's just go home. We'll come right back in the morning and get her, hopefully, as long as they allow us. You know, they discharge her like they had planned. And they did. So at the end though, so she had like the respiratory distress syndrome and she was on bubble CPAP, and then she graduated to the regular CPAP, and that's like the breathing tubes. And then they took her off that and they were just monitoring her, and she would do good, not good, or whatever. And then she kind of developed a little bit of jaundice. So that was like, when we went back to go pick her up, that was like the thing we were hoping the numbers were low enough, because they had told us the night before, you know, her jaundice, like if that increases at all overnight, we're not gonna be able to send her home. We were just like crushed. We were like, please, like, oh my gosh, one more thing. Like, you know, I've never been, I mean, we sat there all those days, which probably is why it felt like forever, and just stared at the monitors. And anytime, I can't remember the numbers they told us they were like looking for or hoping for, but anytime the numbers would go like a little too high or a little too low, or we'd just get like so stressed. Like we sat there and just listened to beeps and watched numbers, and it took a toll on us. It was pretty tough. But you know, so anyways, she was able to go home on the 16th, which was like the best day ever. It was awesome, and I'm so thankful that she was only in there for that little bit of time. But like I said, I seriously feel so like deep in my soul, I feel for people who have to be there longer, who have something way life-threatening. I am in no way trying to, you know, say this is my story, it's so, you know, whatever. No, I know that everybody has a story, and every story is equally important, but that some stories are obviously more devastating or tougher to hear or handle than others. And like I said, I recognize that. My heart hurts thinking about that. But so overall, I just kind of want to share and say, you know, the NICU was not just for small babies. Okay, but as scary as it is having your baby in the NICU, you have to remember this if you're ever in the situation. Your baby in the NICU is in the absolute best hands they could be in, because those nurses and doctors are so amazing. Like, oh, I could cry right now because they're amazing. And I remember a few times we'd come in like right as they just were changing her diaper, or just had picked her up to, you know, get ready to have her eat or whatever before I'd gotten there. And I remember like I walked in and they were singing to her and rocking her, and it was so good to see other people care for your baby as their own. Like they treat all babies the same, and I thought that was just so amazing. And yeah, they're in good hands. So if you need anything to give you any kind of peace, it's that they're in the best hands they can be at that time. Obviously their mom's arms or hands or dad's arms or hands are obviously a little better, but in terms of the situation, they're in the absolute best hands. So you can definitely have peace knowing that, and knowing that they will do everything that they can for you, and that they support you, and they want everything to be good. They want to get your baby out and healthy and strong as soon as possible. But the whole experience to me really does feel like a blur. It was crazy. And something else that makes me feel so sad, which this video is just me feeling like so sad all the time, but you know, I had all these plans, right? Like I had envisioned like, oh, I'm gonna do all these like newborn styled pictures, and I want to have like family photos taken, like, and I want to do, you know, Harper wrapped up in her little swaddle and this and that. And guess what? Not a single one of those things happened. And it makes me so sad because I love pictures so much. I love having photos as memories, but we just were not in that headspace. I mean, we couldn't swaddle her up while she's in the NICU hooked up to a million machines with a bubble CPAP when bubbles are coming out of her mouth and stuff. Like, it just wasn't the situation. You know, it didn't work out in that way that I envisioned this, like, you give birth, it's so beautiful and wonderful and relaxing, and you're just loving your baby and you're soaking it all in. I feel like that was slightly robbed from me because of this experience, because I didn't spend one night in a mother baby with her. So I didn't get that like initial, that sounds terrible. I don't mean like I didn't get to bond with her. I just mean I feel like I missed like those sweet, tender moments before coming home and having chaos with like the dogs and other, like I didn't get that like one-on-one, just Ryan, her and I, like for those few days like we should have. And so that does make me feel kind of sad when I think about it. Like my hospital experience was amazing because I had awesome nurses throughout the whole experience, like even just with me in labor delivery, and doctors. But the after experience, I feel like wasn't what I expected. But I'm still so thankful because everything turned out okay. My baby is healthy, she's happy, I'm healthy, happy, you know, we're all good. And it all worked out, so I'm so thankful. And I feel kind of guilty even saying that, like my experience wasn't like what I had expected, because you shouldn't really have like those expectations. But then again, you kind of can, you know. Yeah. So I do feel like after having Harper, that experience was just not what I had originally planned. I wanted to have a little board that said Harper Riley Kendall, you know, this many, 7 pounds, 7 ounces, December 13th. I wanted to do like all those like pictures and like fun little things and videos of us just snuggling. I didn't get that until we got home. So I'm so thankful we were able to bring her home. I'm so thankful she got stronger and everything worked out. But yeah, I mean, I hope that this video does not scare you. I hope that just encourages you and, you know, gives you that confidence in knowing that, listen, your baby's in great hands if they're in the NICU, and that you can be in the NICU just for having a little bit of jaundice. You know, you could be in the NICU for having a little bit of a blood sugar issue. There are just so many reasons for you to end up in the NICU. It's not always like a devastating issue, but at the time, it feels devastating. Because when you're a new mom, you just want everything perfect. Like, you don't want your baby to have to do anything. You don't want to see her get pricked on her heel 13 times a day or whatever, you know? So at that time when your emotions and hormones are like going crazy, it's so hard. Looking back on it, if I would have been like the state of mind I am now, I could have handled it much better, but at that time, it was very hard for me. And I'm just saying that because I feel like there'll be some people who'll be like, it wasn't that big of a deal, like it's fine. But yeah, okay, to you, because it wasn't you, you know? So, I guess that's all I really wanted to say. I just wanted to share those couple of things. I want to just bring awareness, like I had said a million times, that the NICU can be for all babies, not just small babies, not just super premature babies, and you just never know. And one of my biggest tips that I can just encourage you on and just leave you with is that just choose your hospital based on, you know, how comfortable you feel, because you just never know. And if you choose a hospital without a NICU, I promise you it will still be okay. They'll get your baby to the NICU, you know, close by. They will figure it out for you. You'll be in good hands still. But I'm just saying that's something I never even thought about, and I just had this gut feeling. So I'm just saying, you know, your mama instincts, they're pretty good sometimes. They're right sometimes. So stick to your gut. Try to enjoy and soak up every single moment you have with your newborn, because that time goes so fast. And, oh, I could cry again. I'm having a really hard time with this video, but like I said, I don't want to repeat myself a million times, but I think that's all that I have to say. So I also just love to say thank you, thank you, thank you to anybody who is a nurse, especially a NICU nurse, especially a labor delivery nurse, especially a mother baby nurse. They were all so good to us, and you guys are amazing. And our doctors too, you're all so amazing. And I just want to thank you for what you do, because you make such a big difference. And the way that you're treated when you're in a situation like that makes all the difference. So, you know, just one kind word, one kind smile, just a warm presence, it matters. So thank you for what you do. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it wasn't too all over the place. I just feel emotional about these things, but I think it's important to share. And yeah, so thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe if you are new, and comment in the comments below if you related to anything in this video, or if your baby was in the NICU. Yeah, I would just love to connect with you and get to know you better. And thank you again for watching. It means the world to me. I'll see you guys in the next one.